How's it going, everybody? It is Siege. We're here with a Siege Films review of the hit new Lucasfilm TV show, The Mandalorian. Joining me today is Chris, aka Trumpet Monkey. How you? Look at that. He came out with the AT-AT. Is it cat? AT-Cat?
The Cat Cats. Cat Cats.
Amazing.
Cat Cats and Porg mugs. And if I'm not mistaken, we're both drinking from Star Wars mugs, and we didn't even plan that.
Cheers. This is why this might work. Now, the green screen's messing up a little bit. We got a Boba Fett and a little Porg going on set today.
There we go. Oh, man. What an exciting week to be a Star Wars fan. Oh, my God, mate. Oh, my God.
So much going on in the Star Wars universe. Star Wars fans overwhelmed with how much epicness coming down the pipes. It's been a minute since we've uploaded anything to this channel, a couple of years. If you guys recall, you're just now stumbling onto this channel. This channel, I think, is mainly popular for a Star Wars fan film called Broken Souls, featuring Darth Revan in the Knights of the Old Republic series. And then Chris is my Australian superfan friend, coming in here to talk a little bit of Mandalorian Chapter 1.
I am, mate. I am. And we met through the Madden scene, where we're both EA Game Changers, okay? We're EA Game Changers for Madden, though, not for Jedi Fallen Order or for Battlefront. Yet okay?
Being the key word.
But my God, what an exciting time. What an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan. Mandalorian, Jedi Fallen Order, the video game. We're a month and 1 week away, from the latest installment, episode 9 dropping, right?
The Rise of Skywalker is coming. And what's funny is I think a lot of people, including myself, were more excited about The Mandalorian than The Rise of Skywalker. And I think that's got some merit now, because The Mandalorian seems like perfect Star Wars serial television.
Incredible, hasn't it? You actually made an incredibly good point to me, in that you believe Star Wars is really, really well suited for television serial format. And
Absolutely.
I questioned that, obviously, and a lot of fans would actually kind of, I think as well, be not necessarily thinking about that the same way I was. But you're dead right. I mean, these installments have been incredible. And I liken Mandalorian to literally taking a walking tour of a massive tourist destination city. You know, you're visiting Venice. Well, bad week to visit Venice. Okay, but you're visiting Venice and you're taking the boat tour. A gondola ride, and you're seeing everything. You know, like you're just taking it all in. The nitty gritty streets, the insane architecture, the odd creatures being roasted over a fire. I mean, it's been really, really amazing to visit this galaxy.
Yeah, this part of Star Wars that we haven't necessarily had a lot of exposure to yet, because we see some of it in the Skywalker trilogy. We see some of it in the Clone Wars and in Rebels. Yep. But this is really the first time we've featured something like this in the Star Wars universe. And again, like you were saying, it definitely works as a TV show, simply because George Lucas, one of his biggest inspirations for Star Wars was Flash Gordon, the TV serial back in the day. And the way he wrote the initial Skywalker saga was episodically. I think all in all, George Lucas really wanted to make a TV show, but a movie fit what he needed to do at the time. And you take a look at what Star Wars is now in the hands of guys like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. It feels like this is the nestling corner for what Star Wars needs to become. The movies will still come. The other forms of medium will still come, but I think television, especially in this new streaming world, works so perfectly for Star Wars. And to get into the first chapter of The Mandalorian, it was literally everybody was going in fresh. Nobody had experienced a live action Star Wars TV show, so we all really didn't know what to expect. Yeah. And I feel like, especially take a look at IMDb, take a look at boards, take a look at Twitter, everyone's expectations was exceeded.
Oh, massively. This obviously we're biased, but we acknowledge that bias. We acknowledge that bias, and we both got on today, and it's the first time we've spoken face to face since episode 1, episode 2 dropped here, and we both said this might be the greatest television show we've ever seen. Now, obviously, we're looking at them through very, very Star Wars tinted eyes. Okay, we get that through Star Wars tinted glasses, but at the same time, it did just tick so many boxes. What were we expecting? We were expecting big motion picture cinema quality.
Yeah, I think it was very similar to the budget of a Game of Thrones. So we knew that the production quality was going to be good. Incredible. But what really steers a Star Wars production in the right direction is the storytelling aspect of it. Dave Filoni, if any of you guys here in the comments are massive, Rebels fans or the Clone Wars fans, that is some of the best Star Wars storytelling outside the movies that you'll find anywhere. And to see the same people that handcrafted those stories come into The Mandalorian, you see that translating beautifully and into live action. That's not easy going from animation to live action. I felt like the transition was smooth, it was very successful, and they have the right people behind the curtain working on this series. So Chapter 1, Trumpet Monkey, we started off... Again, the very first image, a lot of people had seen this stuff at like Comic-Con and Celebration, going into that bar. It's definitely, the first thing that dropped into my brain was, this is definitely a Western. And they've been telling us for a long time, this is a Western in Star Wars. And I wasn't quite sure how well that would translate what's the word I'm looking for?
Seamlessly.
Onto
the screen. It did, man. It did, and obviously, there've been 1,000,001 breakdown videos out there, and we don't necessarily need to rehash what was said there, but definitely spaghetti western, and it did work so well. And the very first thing that you notice, and one thing I thought that J.J. Abrams did really well as well. Okay, but in absolutely in this series right here, is it less is more. We don't know what planet it is. Okay, unless you're an uber nerd like us, and probably have to double check as well. You don't realize that, that they're speaking Huttese in the bar. Yeah. You don't need to know. You don't need to know. And that's what Star Wars has always been. It's been like a leap of faith into the unknown, and you just consume what you're seeing and love every minute of it. They walk into the bar. It's absolutely, it 100% is spaghetti western, tough guy walking into the bar. I freaking love it. If anyone has ever watched Hell on Wheels as well, that was one of the latest and greatest westerns that's been out, and it totally had undertones of Bohannon coming through there. And look, it was an introduction to the character that was well and truly badass. I mean, he kicks the crap out of 3 bad guys. And then straight away, you're thrust into just like how dangerous this world is. We're getting back to your car, okay? You park your ship on the ice, and you can get eaten by a giant new creature that we've never seen before from beneath the ice. It's
that kind of concepts and stuff that you saw in Rebels and the Clone Wars quite a bit, and I liked that feeling of it. The one hesitation I had at the beginning of that first episode was the character Mythrol, the blue guy, the blue finny guy that he was going in to collect a bounty on. It felt a little Disney. It felt a little Guardians of the Galaxy. I felt like, maybe if they had him speaking, a different alien dialect, it might have worked a little better. But at the end of the whole sequence where he's in the ship and he figures out, he's a bounty hunter, he's not getting out of this. It felt like we were transitioned right back into the Star Wars atmosphere of everything. And I don't know, it just worked very well. And I'd never seen, and it's a point that I wanted to bring up, I've never seen a bathroom, a washroom in Star Wars before. And Mandalorian delivered.
That is definitely one of the, So what that whole sequence on the ship did for me was it was the familiar. It was the familiar. Okay, so you're talking toilets. We're all familiar with those things, right? And people. Okay, that's as nitty and as gritty as Star Wars has ever gotten. I got to use the bathroom, and outhouses play a massive part in westerns at all times, especially if you've seen Young Guns. Okay, there's some great shootouts around outhouses. All right, and then two, of course. The alien is played by the dude from Saturday Night Live. Now, as an Australian and as a European, we don't tune into Saturday Night Live nearly as religiously as you would expect us to. But I recognized him, and again, it's the familiar. So straight away, there's just a little bit of a familiar. And the American, the kind of the big American accent as well. Like so that right there, it's just it did a great job of like just a couple of like real world familiarities right there. And that plays with your psyche. But dude, the one thing I loved on the ship was the weapons locker. I was just like,
every frame tells a big story about the Mandalorian, because you're looking at the same guy who has a helmet on. You don't see any facial expressions. You're kind of learning about him through his surroundings and mannerisms. And he opens up that weapons case, and you're like, okay, so this guy's ready, and he's ready for anything. And it's shown when he gets attacked by like the ice walrus. You know, he just nonchalantly goes downstairs and zaps it to get off the ship, and then nonchalantly walks back up while the guy is freaking out, just like it's an average Tuesday. And that's something I like that translates into what we're about to see through this character and how we're going to grow with this character. Similarly, you learn a little bit more about him through pretty much every scene, like, you know, a little bit more information, and it becomes such an interesting backstory that's unfolding before us with the Mandalorian. So after getting down to the second planet where he's delivering the bounties, he meets up with Carl Weathers' character. Let's see, what was his name? Grief Karga. And it seems that he's got, you know, a foresight that the Empire is gone. He doesn't want to deal in Imperial credits anymore. He takes half of like some Mon Calamari flam or something like that. And it seems like his entire objective, at least in collecting bounties and stuff, is to build Mandalorian armor. And he takes a shady job in order to accomplish that. Now, what I love about that scene with Herzog. First walking in, getting the job. Herzog, number one, is a character actor. I love his presence, the smoothness of how he delivered, you know, what was happening in the scene. You see these stormtroopers standing all around that are obviously weathered. Because the first thing I noticed when he opens the door and he sees Herzog with the stormtroopers, there's this atmospheric score that tells you it's shady seeing stormtroopers at this point in Star Wars. Like, the Empire's been defeated. The stormtroopers that are here have definitely been through something, and they're the last remnants of the Empire we see still clinging on to that idealism.
Yeah, definitely. I do a Herzog impersonation, actually.
Please,
you know,
grace us.
Director, this channel is pretty cool. You need to ask yourself, why don't you have a Porg mug as well?
That's going to live with me. That's going to haunt me.
Why don't you have a Porg mug, director? Okay. Grizzly Man himself was up in there. Fantastic director. And of course we know one of the coolest Easter egg videos I consumed over the last week. All right, the scientist who comes into the room with the client, with Werner. Okay.
Dr. Pershing. Oh, yeah. Has
a signet on his shoulder, which looks very much like the Camino Cloner's signet. Fabulous Easter egg. Okay. Now that, for me, and obviously he wants, and we know what he wants the subject alive. And so that for me is like, you know, is a little bit of foreshadowing towards, you know, potentially wanting to clone amazing character we'll talk about in a little sec, okay? But
that's pretty big. I didn't notice that Easter egg, because you see the scientist. I didn't see it. You know the scientist wants to do something.
We'll find the link and we'll include it below. We're not stealing anybody else's thunder at all. Oh my God,
that's incredible.
Fantastic. But again, less is more. We have no idea where this second planet is as well, and we don't need to know. You know, we don't know who any of these bounty hunters are that are in the Carl Weathers scene as well. You know, in the Bounty Hunters Guild. We don't need to know. That's the beautiful thing about Star Wars. Like, it will immediately begin creating all of these backstories yourself in your head, right? And that's all you needed from Empire Strikes Back and the bounty hunters showing up, okay? Like, that's all you needed here as well. I love it. That scene, though, Werner Herzog, oh my God, the client. Dude, he's so chilling, man. He's so chilling. He's not the guy that you want reading bedtime stories to your kids, man. They'll just have nightmares. He could turn any bedtime story into a nightmare, okay? Yep. But yeah, I love the drawdown, by the way, there. the drawdown between the Mandalorian and the 4 stormtroopers, and
Oh, yeah.
we got you 4-1. Like in that scene right there.
I like those odds. Like that.
Yeah.
That tells you all of what you need to know about Mandalorians in general. So the client gives him that shady job of picking up some unknown target at 50 years old with a rough location, and he pays him in Beskar, the metal alloy of the Mandalorians that they use for their armor, which it gets into the next scene. Okay, so we'll transition into the armor. He goes and finds his Mandalorian clan. He walks into, this little haven of Mandalorians. There's kids running around with Mandalorian helmets, and he approaches the armorer. And what I immediately started thinking in that scene was, we're about to see way more Mandalorian lore than I thought we maybe would have seen in season 1.
Incredible.
Because the Mandalorians carry so much history, honor, and tradition that it's hard to put that in the forelight without, I guess, freaking people out as a normal audience. You're like, whoa, that's way too much information. But they're doing it so smoothly that it feels it's like not forced, but it's very interesting.
Big time. And little children Mandalorian running around with their helmets on, like, I freaking loved that, man.
Yeah.
I really, really loved that.
So he takes the piece of Beskar, the Mandalorian alloy, to the armorer, who decides for him that she's going to make him a pauldron, a shoulder piece from this piece of Beskar. And that, to me, immediately, again, read that I feel the Mandalorian's goal is to build a full set of Mandalorian armor. And that made me ask even more questions. Was like, well, is the Mandalorian way so buried that there's not even a piece of armor, a set of armor passed down? Because it used to be that the Mandalorians would pass their armor down warrior to warrior, so there's so much history in the armor that you wear into battle. But it seems that the Empire confiscated all of that alloy, maybe for their own purposes, and now the Mandalorians are slowly getting it back.
So the cool stuff about that alloy, lightsaber resistant. That's nuts. Okay, that's crazy, and like expect to see a lightsaber at some point. I'm throwing it out there, man. I'm not saying there's going to be a force wielding lightsaber. Okay, however, I'm expecting a lightsaber of some description, and we've already seen that armor. Okay, like survive a couple, including the pauldron. Take a blaster bolt, put him on his ass, and him survive. Okay. What I love about that, though, the thing you like immediately, and again, you just got to understand like how many boxes this particular show is ticking. He is on a quest. He's on a quest, the overall arching quest to build this armor, and he will accept these jobs to build this armor. There's so many undertones of RPG elements within there.
Yes.
Leveling up, building your armor over the course of a game until you have the complete set and you're this badass warrior. Just understand, like, so much pop culture reference is being, like, so many boxes are being ticked here. It's absolutely glorious. And it just, like deep inside you, it's just this big box is ticked, and it feels absolutely incredible. And I adore that. And just the oh my God, that really was like a scene that for me had tones of like Oathbreaker being forged in Lord of the Rings. It had
bit
like
of 300 with the lore of the warriors. It felt Vikings. The music and everything felt a little Predator to me. You know what I mean? And it told so much story through the visuals and the atmosphere that I wanted to see more. And inside of that sequence, you see flashbacks. And again, we saw those in the trailers, and I assumed it was a different person, but it seems to be the Mandalorian himself and his hometown being raided by, Confederate droids and stuff like that. So there's some history to this character, and that's probably why he didn't like droids at the beginning of the episode, because his hometown was raided by them. And he also mentions that he's a foundling. Because he said they mentioned that the excess of the Beskar is going to sponsor a lot of families. He says, well, I was once a foundling. She's like, I know. And what is a foundling? Is it a child that's brought into the Mandalorian culture and raised as a Mandalorian? Or is it, orphans? Or is it, young, purebred Mandalorians that are being trained up to be warriors? There's a lot of questions, coming out of the Mandalorian culture in that. So I'm excited to see more about that. Let's move on to the actual job itself. He takes off to this new planet where we first meet, what's his character? He's an Ugnaught. I think his name is Quill.
Yep.
Quill?
Well, we don't have the exact spelling on that. We've at the moment anyway, played by Nick Nolte.
Yes.
Brilliantly, by the way.
Yes.
Brilliantly. And here's the other thing. There's like a perfect combination oh man, Favreau got it absolutely right. Like, there's a perfect combination of CGI mixed with real world makeup in this
You're
as
talking
well.
about the Blurg.
Oh man, I'm talking about everything, like including the Ugnaught. You know, I still couldn't tell you, is that prosthetics or is
It
that
looked like
CGI?
animatronic. So it looked like somebody in a suit with an animatronic face, which I think it's a daring move and it's an exciting move because you're seeing these small pieces of practical effects laid out everywhere. It's the Jurassic Park effect. You put enough practical effects mixed in with CGI effects, it becomes seamless. And they did it very well.
time.
I mean, the Blurg was a little CGI-y, but they mixed in enough practical where it didn't distract me too much.
The Blurg, you mean the giant landlocked piranha? Yeah, I mean those are fantastic, and there's fantastic Easter egg episodes out there on YouTube, and go look at them and enjoy them because there are so many throwbacks even just to the original trilogy. However, this is fabulous. Again, you don't know the planet, and I'll shut up about that, okay? But I just love that you don't know and you don't need to know. You just accept it, okay? But Ugnaughts seem to have, my God, like they really did their homework on them in like the lore as well. Like, they are by nature the hardest workers and also very subservient. So like they really are like so dependable and so reliable and rather
for
selfless.
those of you who maybe don't know what we're talking about in Ugnaught, you recall back to Empire Strikes Back, where C-3PO on Bespin is getting ripped apart and they're tossing the head back and forth. Those little pig creature-looking fellers are Ugnaughts. Okay, and it's weird. I thought it was a weird choice to make that character an Ugnaught, but they spun it in such an interesting way that I was like, I'm on board, and he's becoming one of the more iconic characters of the show. I have spoken.
I have spoken is his line. I love that. And if you try to say I have spoken in real life, you're gonna sound like a douche. So that's like like I've tried it with my dogs. Okay, and they're cool with it, but don't try it with other humans because it definitely won't go down this. We're going walkies in 10 minutes. I have spoken. All right, but yeah, that's it. Nick Nolte, dude,
He's portraying the character so perfectly.
Oh my
so
God!
Initially, when he lands on the planet, gets attacked by a couple of Blurgs, and again, Nick Nolte comes in and rescues the day, the old Ugnaught. And for whatever reason, he decides to help him. He says it's because there's so many people coming down here looking for this bounty. It's causing chaos, so I just want peace on my land. So he helps him cross after learning how to ride the Blurg. Mandalorian doesn't want to ride Blurg. Ugnaught says, you're riding Blurg, and we're going to teach you, and we're going to make sure that it's driven in your head that you can't get there without the Blurg. And that's a really cool sequence. I felt it was a little bit quick, but it also told you a little bit about the Mandalorian. He's like, well, Mandalorians used to ride the great crate dragons, and now you can't even handle this little Blurg. He's like, okay, fine. I'm going to try riding the Blurg. And I felt almost like he was called out. And there's these little hints dropped everywhere where it's like, he's trying to prove to himself that he is a Mandalorian. Whether it's because the Mandalorians have been, lost culturally because, the warrior aspect of them was wiped away when they decided to become pacifists, or maybe he's an adopted Mandalorian and he's trying to earn his spot in the culture as well. Kind of interesting.
Facts. And Quill also recognizes, like, some people could be, there's just not too many. I personally don't think there's terribly many plot holes. People might be, why is this random Ugnaught going to help this stranger? And he references that a little bit later on in episode 2 as well, like pretty much just simply saying, because you're a Mandalorian. You dudes got purged. You're pretty rare. You're like absolutely badass warriors. It's kind of like a Viking or a samurai rolling through your tiny village in like rural Australia. You're not going to help the guy. You're not going to turn him away, sir. You are going to help him. You're not going to, because you're fascinated by him. You're like, I live on this, like, I live in rural Australia, and you're a samurai. Here, have a horse. You're all good. I'll even teach you how to ride, mate. You're fine. Like, the kindness of strangers, again, very familiar. That's not that alien, man. Like foreigners, the world isn't quite as xenophobic as people and nationalistic as people want to point it out to be. As an Aussie who's lived abroad for a long time, I can tell you, and as an Australian back in Australia, you are very welcoming to foreigners, and you try to do the right thing because you want that same treatment when you're abroad as well. So I love it. It was even though he's an Ugnaught, it was incredibly human. So I enjoyed it. And
very good character building throughout the entire show, every aspect of every character.
But it's like, can I just say something?
Yes.
You pointed out, yeah. The montage of learning to ride the Blurg was a little quick, but here's the thing, man. It's snappy. It's one fantastic, rich scene after another, and that then leads to like shootout at the OK Corral. Oh
Probably
my God!
the best scene in episode 1. He's
Awesome.
at his stakeout. He sees the stakeout establishment where the target allegedly is, and while he's scoping everything out, he sees IG-11, which a lot of people know IG-88 from Empire Strikes Back. We've all wanted to see those IG unit droids in action, and finally we see it delivered in The Mandalorian. He goes in there, starts shooting the place up. Mandalorian's like, man, he's messing up my game. I've been here 5 seconds. And goes down and confronts the IG unit, and they come to an agreement to split the reward and try and capture this asset together. And that whole sequence, my God, was it executed so perfectly? The action, the dialogue, the back and forth, the character dynamics, it just gelled so well as both a Western and a Star Wars movie.
Oh my God, and an action film. And like what I loved was that, aboard the Star Destroyer in Empire Strikes Back, when we first see this collection of bounty hunters, I'm not going to lie, man. I question, thank God for the expanded universe in comics and books that could like show how badass these guys were. But I always looked at IG-88 and asked myself, this guy looks a little fragile and he looks a little stiff. How could he possibly be dangerous in any way whatsoever? Oh my God. He's insane. His targeting system is insane. The fact, the way he rotates, the way he shoots, and man, he can take a licking and keep on kicking, I should say. Man, he gets blown away and then just stands up again. I want to know what he's made out of. These assassin droids lived up, yes, definitely. And of course, you're half Kiwi, mate. So I mean, voiced by
Taika Waititi.
Your favorite director as well. You are a director.
I am definitely a huge fanboy of Taika, and it was fun to see his humor kind of come through IG-11 a little bit. But the movement, I think, is what amazed me most about IG-88, because it looked like he was doing the robot dance out there the entire time, but he's spinning, 360. He's got eyes going forward, eyes going back. He's got arms going backwards and forwards. Like, he's just literally a killing machine. And like you said, they took this fragile, like, basketball player-looking droid and turned him into a full-on-fledged death machine.
It's like John Wick the droid.
John Wick, the IG unit droid.
John Wick the droid. It was epic. I loved it. It was incredible. I mean, there he is. I love it. We're talking about him and he disappears right there. That's fantastic. But then man, like when the Mandalorian jumps onto effectively, by the way, I've always wanted to see one of those cannons fired. Ever since we saw like a couple of snowtroopers set one up, okay,
and they get blasted away by Han.
Yeah, just get blasted away by the Millennium Falcon. I've always wanted to see one, and of course we played the Battlefront games. We've been in there. We've had our go on them there. But I've always just wanted to see one of these like work.
I think my nerd's about to show. I think it's called a web turret. I think
web turret,
Imperial web turret.
So fantastic. I loved everything about that scene.
Good, and they get pinned down for a moment. And I think one of the Taika moments that was spilling through the IG-11 unit was the fact that he kept wanting to blow himself up. And Mandalorian's just like, stop trying to blow yourself up. We're going to be fine. And every opportunity he can get, he's like, you know what? I can't get captured. Sorry. And he starts taking down, adding to the tension.
Odd. Dude, adding to the tension, but throwing humor into the mix.
Yeah.
That is so difficult. You're a filmmaker. You know how they achieve it. It's achieved through script and editing to get that pacing right so that you're still tense and like, you're like, Jesus Christ, I'm laughing, but I also don't want the Mandalorian to die. And you know there is plot armor that is just as strong as Mandalorian armor because we're expecting him to last at least until the final episode. Okay. However, early predictions, the Mandalorian might not be walking away from this one. I'm just throwing that out there. Okay. This might have a very Ronin-esque finish for him, like in keeping with the samurai culture. However, I do definitely feel as though that balance of like tension and humor was so well maintained there. And that's
something like, Taika does very well.
Like then My goodness.
The big reveal. Okay, so they fight off
greatest-
all of these henchmen, IG-11 and the Mandalorian. They blast down the door. And that action sequence, yeah, I do not want to forget that, where he's spinning around, in the turret. You know what I mean?
That's incredible. Incredible.
Like, that was some Star Wars fan service right there. I've always wanted to see something like that.
God.
It was brilliant. They take a look at that same turret, use that to open the door. Big reveal, They come up to their target. He's using this little tracer thing or whatever to get up to this tiny little container that opens up and looks definitely like a baby crib and reveals what?
Baby Yoda. FYI, the species has no name in any Star Wars lore. All we know is that they are incredibly force sensitive.
Yes.
So straight away, and as well, you're not quite sure whether the baby crib, by the way, they absolutely need to get onto the merchandising. I want a Baby Yoda for Christmas, and I also want for when little Trumper monkeys begin populating this earth, I want a floating baby crib just like that, okay? Please, Disney, get it taken care of, okay? But like, you're also not sure whether or not like the Force is being used to levitate this crib. We find out it isn't. There's like it's a repulsor lift kind of thing going on there. Like it's controlled by the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But my God, this is like when it happens, your face is just shock and awe and smiling and absolutely loving what you're seeing. It is one of the greatest finishes and payoffs at the end of an episode of any television series ever created.
That is so true. It's something so
incredible.
hard to do nowadays is surprise people and be happy that you were surprised. And Jon Favreau mentioned that when making this series, he was like, I want to surprise people, I want to entertain people, I don't want the secrets to come out before the show comes out. He did a very good job of it, and that payoff, I mean, my God, I can't think of anything else that would have shocked me any more than that. And not to mention that IG-11 was totally fine with offing the kid. As soon as he saw him, he's like, well, they said he need him dead, so let's go ahead. And he ends up shooting IG-11, which I don't think that's the last we've seen of IG-11, but that shows Mandalorian he's still honor bound in some ways. And Mandalorians don't go out and kill kids.
Big time, and you can see as well, like the Mandalorian does not like droids. Okay, we get that. Droids attacked him as a child. We see that he won't accept the land speeder ride from a droid as well. Poor little astromech, okay? And then he blasts like IG-11. You're right. And I think IG-11 is going to be back. I completely agree with you. This was like, for me, this is an iconic moment in television. Yes, it's a streaming service. Yes, it's digital, but it's still TV. Yeah. And this is an iconic moment in television history. This will go down. This will go down in history as one of the greatest payoffs at the end of an episode, the greatest reveals ever. And I just feel as though it's hard to not have any missteps when you're creating a film or a television series at all. And what a crescendo, what a finish. And I don't feel like they missed a step at all so far through 2 chapters anyway, 2 episodes. Incredible. Could you pick a more? Oh my God, your brain immediately begins racing as well. Fan theories: is it Yoda's baby? Is it Yoda and Yaddle? Is it a clone of Yoda? Like what is
now?
Going
What you
on
were
here?
saying with the Doctor, he's going to try and clone this thing. What does he want the Force sensitive baby Yoda for? A lot of foreshadowing is going on right now, and I'm so excited to see what the reveal is with what they're doing in these first couple of chapters. Because again, baby Yoda, we can assume that his species is Force sensitive, but we don't know. Just every Yoda species we've seen so far has been very powerful with the Force. And I don't know, it's very interesting the direction that they're going in. It feels all very Clone Wars, very Rebels. The episodic, pacing of everything feels very like it's always moving. It feels good. I'm very impressed with what they've accomplished in these first couple episodes of The Mandalorian.
It's amazing. And again, it's just ticking so many boxes. It's got the classic Star Wars. We're taking a guided walking tour of the seedy underbelly of the galaxy, and our tour guide is Jon Favreau and the Mandalorian. It's incredible. The dialogue is great. The mystique is great. Your imagination is firing. There's role-playing game elements in it as well. There's cosplay elements. Like for anybody who likes the cosplay, director, director. Yes,
Yep.
there's cosplay elements coming out. The Weewa. There's baby Yodas, and you know what it really was? It really feels as though, as well, that it's catered to the instant gratification, satisfaction generation that we all are now, with instant access to knowledge right there in our hands and our smartphones. The Wikipedia, not just the Wikipedia, the Wikipedia generation, where you just want to know absolutely everything. And so you're Googling as you're watching. Oh my God, what is that? Like, and you're connecting all of the dots, and your imagination is going. Why are Mon Calamari credits a thing? You know, and we know they have shipyards. Okay, yeah. Like, and we love Mon Calamaris, and you immediately think of Admiral Akbar. Sorry, and like, it's fantastic.
What the Mandalorian? What the Mandalorian has done, and you guys can check out on IMDb. I was one of the first people to write a review, and I'm one of the top 3 reviews for the Mandalorian IMDb. What I say on there is I feel that the future of Star Wars is definitely in the hands of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, because what they have done with the Mandalorian is recapture that atmosphere and feel of the original trilogy, while also putting their own spin of the uniqueness of like a Western and whatever else it is that they wanted to have their own unique identity with in the Mandalorian. And it works, blends, and satisfies beautifully. And if we see more of this through the Mandalorian, heck, they might do some movies in the future, different series. This is the direction Star Wars needs to go in. I know there's been some other Star Wars content that not a lot of people enjoyed, which is fair, but I would say it's safe to assume most people are going to like The Mandalorian.
Oh my God. And immediately I'm already getting excited for the Obi-Wan series. I mean, if it's this good, oh my God. One last thing. The Carbonite. I just saw it on the image there. The Carbonite, you're immediately told. I mean, he Carbonite freezes this really, really fantastic, funny little life-loving, chubby blue guy. And then you see he's also Carbonite freezing beautiful young women. He doesn't care. He really is. He's like the honey badger of the galaxy, man. He does not give an S. He's just, he will, by the way, the first thing, this is the fan service. The first thing I thought when I saw the Carbonited young woman was Mara Jade. Immediately. Like, my brain just, I mean, this is what's beautiful about it. Your brain starts firing. It's fantastic. And so, look, chapter 1, my God.
Amazing. The beauty's in the details. Watch it over. I've already seen the first episode 6 times, and I'm not even lying. I'm sure there's some of you out there maybe seen it more. The beauty's in the details. Take a look at every frame. Question every frame. Dig deep into every visual that you see, every fan theory, because this is what's fun, what has been fun about Star Wars movies coming out every couple of years, that couple of years you get to kind of speculate and have some fun with it as a fan. And I kind of like that with The Mandalorian being episodic every week, because that week is really fun to think about what you're going to see in the next coming episode.
Talk about water cooler material, my God. And just about every office, every workplace in the world has some hardcore Star Wars fans in it now as well. You're not alone. We're here to talk about it with you. We reply to every single comment. Find us on Twitter as well. Yeah. And then chat to your friends about this. And remember, may the Force be with you.
That's going to wrap up episode 1, ladies and gents. Remember that Chris and I also run a Madden channel on YouTube. If you happen to be a Star Wars fan that likes a little Madden NFL football, we'll put the link to that channel below. A couple other things about the episode I love. The music's fantastic. The pacing's fantastic. The characters are all great. Super excited. We'll get more into that in episode 2 coming out here in the next day or so. And guys, if you enjoy what you saw, hit us up with a like and sub. Again, it's been a while since we've uploaded on this channel, but The Mandalorian is a reason to come back out of retirement.
Yeah, it's been a while since we had anything to get this excited about in the Star Wars galaxy, so come on, let's go.
Let's go, guys. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Seach and Chris, and I guess I say this on the Madden channel all the time. As always, stay frosty.